Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we have Secretary Hillary Clinton versus Governor Mitt Romney in a 2012 alternative election. And my alternative history video did really well yesterday actually. So I want to do another one of these in the 2012 stage. I know I've talked about this before, but I actually wanted to put it into effect. So let's say, for example, the silent minority pushing for a Clinton nominee in 2012. Remember, she polled 37% against the President Obama, who had 54% in a Democratic primary poll. And this is just an example if she was the nominee, if Obama chose not to run for re-election due to his unpopularity and her being at her peak popularity at this moment in time. So realistically, if she was to run for president, she would have resigned from the Secretary of State position in probably early 2012 or late 2011, avoiding her being tied to the Benghazi scandal, along with a lot of the email scandals, so that won't be behind her. She'll be at her peak popularity based off opinion polls that were taken at that time period, which was around 60%, which is very high compared to President Obama, who had a negative approval rating at the time and had one all the way up until election day, and you saw how he won. But overall, Clinton's approval rating was far higher. She would be the first female on a major nomination for president as the presidential candidate and not just a vice presidential candidate. And overall, this would likely help the Clinton factor. So we're going to go throughout the United States. So starting off on the West Coast, we have some safe Clinton states. Then we have safe Romney states, up and down. States like Texas and Arizona were competitive in 2016, but I do not think they would be competitive in 2012, considering the population did not shift as much as it did back then, and there was a little bit of a difference. So Georgia wouldn't be a toss-up. Arkansas would be a toss-up. Some other states would be considered a toss-up. West Virginia wouldn't necessarily be a toss-up. Indiana would be. Kentucky would not be. Tennessee would not be, but Missouri would. Illinois, Iowa would be a toss-up. The entire Rust Belt would be safe blue. Remember, this was a Democratic stronghold area, and actually Virginia should be a toss-up. This isn't 2016. And pretty much the Rust Belt was considered safe Democratic at this time. Even Michigan was called at poll closing time, and it should be considered a toss-up in this situation. I mean, should be considered safe blue in this situation, especially since we have a far more popular Democrat at the time without any scandals behind her, versus with President Obama, who had a negative approval rating, yet still was able to hold on to the vote. So in Maine, all of Maine was safe blue at that point. So 242 electoral votes for Hillary Clinton and 164 for Mitt Romney. A few more toss-up states than we saw originally in 2012, which tend to favor the Democrats. So we're going to go over to where history tells us will stay blue. New Mexico. Not much of support for Romney there, along with Colorado and Nevada. These states would have stayed blue. If Clinton was the nominee, she would have the minorities behind her. She would be the first female candidate without any scandals, so she'll be perceived as unstoppable. In 2012, the Republican Party deemed Hillary Clinton unstoppable in 2016. Imagine if she ran at her peak approval rating and without any scandals behind her. Newt Gingrich called her unstoppable. I remember that article, reading it. I believe I was either 10 or 9, and I read the article, and it was on Real Clear Politics. We were making our final predictions in our social studies classes, and I saw the article, and I thought that was interesting. And I didn't know much about Hillary Clinton at the time. I know far more now, but if the Republicans thought she was unstoppable then, that coming from the Republican side, she would have far more energy on the Democratic side, and she would get a lot of Bill Clinton voters, back to her side. So we're going to go over to Ohio. Ohio would most likely not flip. The reasoning behind it is Obama carried it pretty much in an overwhelming victory in 2008, and Clinton would definitely be able to hold on to the white working class here. They didn't have party fatigue, and really it would just be Hillary Clinton taking over for Obama, and she would be perceived as a more electable nominee. Seems like the same arguments were made in 2016 against Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Same thing happens in New Hampshire. Would not be really much of a Romney win there. If he couldn't flip it against Obama and Hillary won it against Trump's virtual upsetting election, Clinton would hold on to that one. We'll hold on to it for the Democratic Party at the time. Virginia, that one I'm not going to go to just yet. North Carolina could stay in the Romney column. The reasoning behind it is Clinton, although she would be inspiring to a lot of the voters throughout the country, She wouldn't be able to do as well as Obama did in 2008, but I think she could improve on his 2012 margin. But North Carolina has a pretty conservative base, only went for Obama by 14,000 votes in 2008. Clinton could get the base out here, but if she was to really focus on other states, states that were previously deemed safe Republican, states like Arkansas, because she is from that state, and states like Missouri, overall, if those become competitive, she'll have to put less resources in more conservative states, and North Carolina would ultimately go to Romney. Florida would go to Clinton. The reasoning behind it is the Latino vote would come out for Clinton, along with a lot of those conservative Democrats that typically vote Republican, or those independents that were leaning conservative and thought Obama was too far left and didn't vote for him, and he still won the state of Florida. They would come out for Clinton. She was more conservative than Obama at this point in time, and she was not as left as she was in 2016. Arkansas is her home state. Although there was a huge party shift, I think Hillary Clinton would hold on to it. There was a huge party shift in Indiana from Bush to Obama, and Obama was able to carry that state. I think Clinton would carry Arkansas by a narrow factor. Just having that home state appeal would really help her in that state. Along with the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa, I think, would go to the Democratic Party. There would be a lot more energy, and Iowa had a lot more of a Democratic base here than they did in 2016. A lot of Democratic Iowans moved out of the state and moved to more urban areas, such as states like Wisconsin, Michigan, states like that, and pretty much took away the Democratic identity of the state of Iowa. Same thing out of the state of Virginia. Virginia would ultimately go to Hillary Clinton. The reasoning behind it is Hillary Clinton would be able to hold on to Virginia voters. She would inspire them, being the first female candidate, and that would definitely help her in the long run, and she would be able to hold on the state of Virginia. So, yeah, so this is the final electoral map before I call the last two previously solid Republican states, Missouri and Indiana. So, yeah, so 338 for Clinton and 179 for Romney, down to the states of Indiana and Missouri. So I'm going to make this quick and easy. Romney would hold on to both of these states. The reasoning behind it is the Republican base is very strong in this state, and although McCain lost Indiana in 2008, Romney would be able to bring back these voters that voted for Bush in double digits. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.